He made you laugh with When Harry Met Sally. He made you believe in true love with The Princess Bride. And on December 14th, 2025, his own son allegedly slit his throat while he slept. Rob Reiner, 78 years old, Hollywood legend, found dead in a pool of blood in his Brentwood mansion. His wife Michele beside him, also stabbed, also dead. The killer didn't break in. He had a key. He lived in the guest house. He'd been there for months. Their son, 32-year-old Nick Reiner, heroin addict, arrested walking the streets of Los Angeles. Blood allegedly on his clothes. But here's the part that will haunt you. The night before the murders, all three of them were at a party together, laughing, smiling, taking photos with celebrities. Less than 12 hours later, Rob and Michele were bleeding out in their bedroom. What happened in those 12 hours? What could drive a son to allegedly do something so unthinkable? The answer will shock you. Because this isn't a story about a monster. It's a story about a family that tried everything to save their child, and it cost them their lives. Help this channel grow. Like the video, try the new hype feature, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories. This is the Brentwood tragedy. And before this video ends, you'll know exactly how 17 years of love, addiction, and desperation led to one of the most horrific family murders Hollywood has ever seen. But first, you need to understand who Rob Reiner really was. Not the Hollywood version, the real man. The father who would do anything for his son, even if it meant dying for him. Born March 6, 1947, in the Bronx, New York. His father? Carl Reiner, one of the greatest comedic minds of the 20th century. Creator of The Dick Van Dyke Show. Writer, director, icon. Growing up as Carl Reiner's son wasn't just privilege. It was pressure, expectations, the weight of a legendary name. But Rob didn't run from it. He embraced it, and then he surpassed it. 1971, he's 24 years old. He lands the role that will make him a household name. Michael Meathead Stivic all in the family. The liberal son-in-law constantly clashing with Archie Bunker. For 8 seasons, America invited Rob Reiner into their living rooms every week. He won 2 Emmy Awards. He became part of the cultural fabric of the 1970s. By 1979, he was one of the most recognizable faces on television. He could have coasted on that success for decades, done guest appearances, made commercials, lived comfortably off residuals. But that's not who Rob Reiner was. He wanted more. He wanted to create, to direct, to build something that would outlast him. So in 1984, at 37 years old, he made his directorial debut with This Is Spinal Tap, a mockumentary about a fictional British rock band, shot on a shoestring budget. Critics didn't know what to make of it at first, but it became a cult classic, changed the landscape of comedy, invented an entire genre of filmmaking. Rob Reiner wasn't just another celebrity trying to direct. He was the real deal. 2 years later, 1986, Stand By Me, a coming-of-age story about 4 boys searching for a dead body, based on a Stephen King novella, starring unknown child actors. It could have been a forgettable summer movie. Instead, it became one of the most beloved films of the decade. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars. It was nominated for an Academy Award. Rob Reiner had proven he wasn't a one-hit wonder. 1987, The Princess Bride, a fairy tale that shouldn't have worked. A story within a story. A grandfather reading to his sick grandson. Sword fights and true love and rodents of unusual size. Studios were skeptical. Test audiences were confused. But Rob believed in it, and it became timeless. Generations of families have watched it together. Lines from the film entered the cultural lexicon. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. 38 years later, it's still one of the most quoted films ever made. 1989, When Harry Met Sally, a romantic comedy written by Nora Ephron, starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. The story of 2 people who meet, hate each other, become friends, and eventually fall in love. It redefined the genre, made us believe that men and women could be friends, and gave us one of the most iconic scenes in cinema history. I'll have what she's having. The film was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. It made over $92 million at the box office, and it cemented Rob Reiner as one of the greatest directors of his generation. But he wasn't done yet. 1992, A Few Good Men, a military courtroom drama. Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore. A script by Aaron Sorkin. You can't handle the truth. That line, that scene, that performance by Nicholson. It became cultural immortality. The film was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. In less than a decade, Rob Reiner had directed 5 films. 5 completely different genres: comedy, drama, romance, fantasy, thriller, and every single one was brilliant. He was mentioned in the same breath as Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola. Rob Reiner wasn't just successful, he was a legend. But while his career soared, his personal life was turbulent. His first marriage, to actress Penny Marshall, ended in divorce in 1981. They had no children together. Then, in 1989, he met Michele Singer, a photographer, an artist, beautiful, intelligent, grounded. They married that same year, and together, they built a family. Rob had 1 child from a previous relationship, Jake. With Michele, they had 2 more children: Nick, born in 1993, and Romy, born in 1998. From the outside, they seemed perfect, a blended Hollywood family: wealth, success, love. But inside their Brentwood mansion, a storm was brewing. Because when Nick Reiner turned 15 years old, everything changed. Nick Reiner, born September 14, 1993, middle child, brother to Jake and Romy, son of one of Hollywood's most successful directors. He grew up with every advantage: private schools, tutors, access to the entertainment industry, a mansion in Brentwood, vacations around the world. But none of that mattered, because at 15 years old, Nick Reiner became a heroin addict. Not at a party, not through peer pressure, in a rehab facility. Let that sink in. His first rehab, for something else. Some earlier issue that Rob and Michele thought they could fix quickly. And while he was there, supposedly getting help, he met someone who introduced him to heroin. I was put in a room with a heroin addict at my first rehab, Nick would later reveal in interviews. I told myself I'd never try it. But eventually I did. He was 15 years old, a sophomore in high school. One decision, one moment of weakness, and his life spiraled out of control. By 16, Nick was using regularly. Heroin, pills, whatever he could get. Rob and Michele didn't know what to do. They consulted doctors, therapists, addiction specialists. Everyone told them the same thing: tough love, boundaries, send him away. So they did. By 17, Nick had been to 5 different rehab facilities across the country. The best programs money could buy. None of them worked. He'd stay clean for a few weeks, maybe a month. Then he'd relapse. And each time he relapsed, he went harder, used more, took bigger risks. By 19, he'd been to 10 rehab centers. Think about that. 10 different facilities. Tens of thousands of dollars per stay. Months away from home. Family therapy, individual therapy, group therapy, medication-assisted treatment. And nothing stuck. Rob and Michele were desperate. They read every book, attended every support group, listened to every expert. But their son kept using, and the drugs changed him. He wasn't just using heroin anymore. Methamphetamine, cocaine, OxyContin, fentanyl, benzodiazepines. He'd take anything. His personality changed. He became paranoid, aggressive, unpredictable. When Rob and Michele tried to enforce rules, Nick would explode. Screaming matches, broken furniture, holes punched in walls. And when they tried to be tough, like the experts told them, Nick would leave. Just walk out. Disappear for days or weeks. I was homeless in Maine, Nick told People magazine in 2016. I was homeless in New Jersey. I was homeless in Texas. I spent nights on the street. I spent weeks on the street. The son of a Hollywood legend. A kid who grew up in a mansion, sleeping in shelters, begging for money, shooting up in alleyways. His parents had millions of dollars, and their son was living like he had nothing. Because addiction doesn't care about money. It doesn't care about privilege. It doesn't care about love. By 22, Nick had been to 17 different rehab facilities. 17. Rob later admitted in interviews that he'd lost count of how much money they'd spent. Easily over $1 million. Maybe $2 million. Possibly more. And Nick was still using. In 2018, things came to a head. Nick was living in the guest house on his parents' property. Rob and Michele had set boundaries. If he wanted to live there, he had to stay clean, go to meetings, see his therapist, follow the rules. Nick agreed. For a while, it seemed like he was trying. He was going to NA meetings, seeing his counselor, Rob and Michele started to hope that maybe, finally, this was the turning point. Then one night, Nick relapsed. He got his hands on cocaine, maybe meth, maybe both, and he locked himself in the guest house. For hours, Rob and Michele could hear him in there, yelling, crashing sounds, breaking things. They didn't know what to do. If they went in, he might hurt them. If they called the police, he might get arrested. If they did nothing, he might hurt himself. Finally, the noise stopped. When they went in the next morning, the guest house was destroyed. I started with the TV, Nick later admitted. Then the lamp. Then everything in the guest house got wrecked. Furniture overturned. Lamps shattered. Holes in the walls. The TV smashed. Blood on the floor from Nick punching things. It looked like a crime scene. Rob and Michele stood in the doorway, staring at the destruction. At their son, passed out in the corner. And they realized something terrifying. They couldn't save him. No matter how much money they spent. No matter how many programs they tried. No matter how much they loved him. Nick had to want to save himself. And he didn't. We were so influenced by these people, Michele later told the LA Times, referring to addiction counselors and experts. When Nick would tell us that it wasn't working for him, we wouldn't listen. We were desperate. Rob's pain was even more raw in his interviews. Every expert with a desk and a diploma told me I had to be tough on him, he said. Cut him off. Make him hit rock bottom. But every time we sent him away, I saw him slipping further from us. And all I could tell myself was, I'd rather have you alive and hating me than dead on the streets. That was Rob's biggest fear. That one day, he'd get a call from the police or the hospital telling him his son was dead. An overdose, a car accident, suicide, violence. Every parent of an addict lives with that fear. The phone call that changes everything. Rob and Michele lived with it for years, but they refused to give up. In 2015, Rob had an idea, a radical idea, something that might help Nick in a way that rehab couldn't. They were going to make a movie about it. Being Charlie, Rob approached Nick with the idea. What if they took their story, their pain, their struggle, and turned it into art? What if they wrote a screenplay together? A fictional story based on their real experiences. A young man battling addiction. His father, desperate to help, but not knowing how. Nick was hesitant at first. The idea of putting their private nightmare on screen seemed terrifying. But Rob convinced him. Maybe this could help other families. Maybe this could help Nick process his trauma. Maybe this could be the thing that finally healed them. So Nick co-wrote the screenplay with Matt Elisifon, someone he'd met in rehab. They wrote it longhand because they couldn't spend much time on computers. The drugs had fried Nick's ability to focus. The screenplay was raw, honest, painful. It followed a young man named Charlie, played by Nick Robinson. After running away from a rehab clinic, Charlie is reluctantly brought back by his father, a politician played by Cary Elwes. The film doesn't sugarcoat addiction. It shows the relapses, the lying, the manipulation, the desperation. In one particularly gut-wrenching scene, Charlie steals OxyContin from a sick elderly woman who desperately needs it for pain relief. I've done things similar to that, Nick admitted in interviews. When you're in addiction, you throw your morals out the window. You become someone you don't recognize. Rob directed the film. Every scene was pulled from their real life. The arguments, the interventions, the betrayals. It was very, very hard going through it the first time, Rob said during the press tour. And then making the movie dredged it all up again. Every scene, I was reliving our worst moments. But he also said it was worth it. This was the most satisfying creative experience I've ever had, Rob told NPR, because I got to work with Nick. For the first time in years, we were collaborating on something, creating something together. It felt like I had my son back. The film premiered at film festivals in 2016. Rob and Nick did press tours together, father and son, talking openly about addiction, about their relationship, about hope. Critics praised the film for its honesty. Audiences connected with its raw emotion. For a brief moment, it seemed like this was the turning point, like the movie had saved them. Nick moved back to Los Angeles. He reconnected with his family. He talked about writing more scripts, getting into the industry. Rob and Michele were cautiously optimistic. Maybe, after all these years, they'd finally gotten through to him. Friends of the family described them as close-knit during this period. Barry Markowitz, the cinematographer on Being Charlie, said Rob and Michele always opened their home to him. Whenever I went to LA, the door was open, he recalled. They were warm, generous people. They loved their kids. They believed in Nick. But addiction doesn't work like that. It's not a Hollywood movie where everything gets resolved in Act 3. It's a chronic disease, a battle that never ends. And by 2025, Nick was still struggling. He'd had periods of sobriety, months where things seemed stable, but he always relapsed. And each relapse made him more unstable, more paranoid, more volatile. Rob and Michele knew he was using again. They could see the signs, the erratic behavior, the mood swings, the lies, but they didn't know what to do anymore. They'd tried everything, twice, 3 times, 10 times. So they did the only thing they could do. They let him stay in the guest house, the same guest house he destroyed years earlier, and they hoped that their love would be enough to keep him alive. Which brings us to December 13th, 2025. Tap the like button, share, and also subscribe for a surprise gift. Saturday night, holiday season in Los Angeles. The city is covered in Christmas lights and palm trees, a uniquely California combination. Conan O'Brien is throwing his annual holiday party at his Pacific Palisades estate. It's one of the hottest invites in Hollywood. A-list celebrities, industry executives, directors, actors, comedians. Rob and Michele Reiner receive an invitation, of course. They're Hollywood royalty. But this year, they bring Nick. Why? Maybe they thought getting him out of the house would be good for him. Maybe they wanted to include him in family activities. Maybe they were trying to show him that they still believed in him. We'll never know. What we do know is that from the moment they arrived, something was off. Nick's appearance stands out immediately. Everyone else is dressed in cocktail attire. Holiday sweaters, dress shirts, nice shoes. Nick is wearing a hoodie, jeans, a baseball cap pulled low over his face, sneakers. He looks uncomfortable, out of place, like he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't mingle, doesn't talk to anyone. He stands alone by the outdoor fire pit, chain-smoking cigarettes, just staring into space. Several guests later told investigators that Nick seemed strange and off. Then the incident with Bill Hader happens. Hader, the former Saturday Night Live star, is having a private conversation with someone near the bar. It's clearly an intimate discussion, personal. Nick walks up, interrupts. Hader politely tries to redirect him. Hey, this is a private conversation. Nick doesn't respond. He just stands there, staring at them, not blinking, not moving. For what feels like an eternity, he just stares. Hader exchanges an uncomfortable glance with the other person. What is happening? Finally, Nick turns and walks away. No words, no explanation. Guests nearby witness the whole thing. They're confused, concerned. Who was that guy? But the party continues. At some point during the evening, multiple witnesses report seeing Rob and Nick arguing. Father and son. Heated words. Rob looks frustrated. Nick looks angry. The argument doesn't last long. Maybe 2 minutes. Then they separate. Rob rejoins the party. Nick goes back to standing alone by the fire pit. Later that night, the Reiners leave. All 3 of them. Rob, Michele, and Nick. They drive back to their Brentwood mansion. About a 15-minute drive from Pacific Palisades. What happened in the car? What did they talk about? Did they discuss the argument? Did they ride in silence? We don't know. What we do know is that this was the last time anyone saw Rob and Michele Reiner alive. Early morning, December 14th, 2025. The Reiner mansion in Brentwood sits quiet. The street is empty. The neighborhood is asleep. Inside the guest house, Nick is awake. What's going through his mind? Is he high? Coming down? Sober but mentally unstable? Investigators are still piecing together the timeline. But at some point between midnight and dawn, according to prosecutors, Nick allegedly made a decision. He allegedly left the guest house. He allegedly walked across the property to the main house. He allegedly entered through a door he had a key to. He allegedly made his way through the house he grew up in, past the kitchen where his mother made him breakfast as a child, past the living room where they used to watch movies together, up the stairs, down the hallway, to the master bedroom, his parents' bedroom. Rob and Michele are allegedly inside, possibly sleeping, possibly awake. What prosecutors claim happened next is almost too horrific to comprehend. Multiple stab wounds. Both victims. According to reports, their throats were slit. The medical examiner would later describe it as multiple sharp force injuries. The violence was extreme, personal, filled with rage. This wasn't random. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. Prosecutors allege this was intentional, planned, brutal. And when it was over, both Rob and Michele Reiner lay dead in their own bedroom. After the alleged murders, Nick reportedly fled the scene. He didn't call 911, didn't stay to explain. He allegedly just left. Hours pass. The sun rises over Brentwood. Saturday morning becomes Saturday afternoon. At 3:30 p.m., a massage therapist arrives at the Reiner mansion for a scheduled appointment with Michele. She rings the doorbell. No answer. She calls Michele's phone. No answer. She waits. Calls again. Still nothing. After 30 minutes, she leaves. It's unusual, but maybe there was a miscommunication. Across the street, Romy Reiner is growing concerned. She's 27 years old, Rob and Michele's daughter, Nick's younger sister. She lives in a house directly across from her parents. They talk every day, multiple times a day, but she hasn't heard from them since yesterday. She texts her mom. No response. She calls her dad. Straight to voicemail. Something feels wrong. At approximately 4 p.m., Romy walks across the street to her parents' house. The front door is unlocked. That's unusual. Mom? Dad? She calls out. No response. Hello? Are you here? Silence. A terrible feeling settles in her stomach. She walks through the first floor. No one in the kitchen. No one in the living room. No one in Rob's study. She calls out again. Nothing. Then she goes upstairs, down the hallway, to the master bedroom. She opens the door and discovers a scene that will traumatize her for the rest of her life. Her parents, both of them, dead, blood everywhere. She screams. She runs out of the room, stumbles down the hallway, pulls out her phone with shaking hands. 911, what's your emergency? My parents, she says, barely able to speak. Something happened. There, I think they're dead. Within minutes, police cars descend on the quiet Brentwood Street. Paramedics arrive. Detectives arrive. Crime scene investigators arrive. They confirm what Romy already knows. Rob Reiner, 78 years old, is dead. Michele Singer Reiner, 70 years old, is dead. Both victims of what appears to be a double homicide. The investigation begins immediately. Detectives interview Romy. She tells them about the missed calls, about the unlocked door, about what she found upstairs. She's in shock, barely able to form coherent sentences. They ask her about family, about enemies, about anyone who might want to hurt her parents. She mentions Nick, her brother. He's been living in the guest house. He struggled with addiction. He was at a party with them last night. Where is he now? She doesn't know. Detectives check the guest house. Empty. Nick's car is gone. They try calling his phone. Straight to voicemail. An APB goes out across Los Angeles. Find Nick Reiner, 32 years old, person of interest in a double homicide. Meanwhile, investigators process the crime scene. They photograph everything, collect evidence, look for signs of forced entry. There are none. Whoever did this had access to the house. They interview neighbors. Did anyone hear anything? See anything unusual? Nothing. It's a quiet neighborhood. People mind their own business. Detectives pull security footage from nearby homes and businesses. And that's when they start piecing together Nick's movements after the alleged murders. At 8:20 p.m., more than 12 hours after the alleged killings, security cameras capture Nick at an Arco gas station near USC. He's wearing the same hoodie from Conan's party, walking slowly, aimlessly, like he's in a daze. He doesn't get gas, doesn't go inside, just walks around the parking lot, then leaves. Later that evening, he checks into the Pierside Hotel in Santa Monica. The front desk clerk would later tell police that Nick seemed out of it, barely made eye contact, paid in cash. But by the time police trace him to the hotel, he's already gone. Where is he? At 9:15 p.m., four police vehicles receive a tip. A man matching Nick Reiner's description is walking near the intersection of Exposition Boulevard and Vermont Avenue, near USC campus. Units converge on the location. They find him walking alone, still wearing the hoodie. No bags, no phone visible. Four police cars pull up. Officers step out. Nick Reiner. He stops walking. Doesn't run. Doesn't resist. Yeah, we need you to come with us. He nods. Puts his hands up. They handcuff him. Read him his rights. He doesn't say anything. Doesn't ask questions. Just stares straight ahead. He's transported to the police station. And within hours, the news breaks. Rob Reiner, legendary Hollywood director, has been murdered. His wife, Michele Singer Reiner, murdered alongside him. Their son, Nick Reiner, has been arrested. The shockwave hits Hollywood immediately. Social media explodes. News outlets scramble to confirm details. Celebrities begin posting reactions. Billy Crystal and his wife Janice, who'd been close friends with the Reiners for decades, rush to the scene when they hear. Kathy Bates, who starred in Rob's film Misery, releases a statement within hours. Absolutely devastated. I loved Rob. He was brilliant and kind and generous. My heart breaks for them both and for their family. Former President Barack Obama issues a statement. Michele and I are heartbroken by the tragic passing of Rob Reiner and his beloved wife, Michele. Rob was a groundbreaking filmmaker and a good man. Our thoughts are with their family. California Governor Gavin Newsom. Rob Reiner will be remembered for his remarkable filmography and for his extraordinary contribution to humanity. This is a devastating loss for California and for the world. Messages pour in from actors Rob had worked with over his 40-year career, from directors he'd inspired, from fans whose lives had been touched by his films. But for Jake and Romy Reiner, this isn't about Hollywood legacy. They just lost their parents, and their brother stands accused of killing them. 2 days later, December 16th, Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman holds a press conference. The charges are—
My name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. Today I'm here to announce that our office will be filing charges against Nick Reiner, who is accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michele Singer Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with the special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty. We have requested, and currently Nick Reiner is being held without bail.
On December 18th, Nick appears in court for the first time since his arrest. He's wearing an all-blue vest, standard jail attire. His face is blank, expressionless, like he's not even there. The judge reads the charges, asks if he understands them. Nick's voice is barely audible. Yes, Your Honor. His defense attorney, Alan Jackson, a high-profile criminal defense lawyer, addresses the court. There are very complex and serious issues in this case. We urge everyone not to rush to judgment. My client is presumed innocent until proven guilty. The arraignment is continued until January 7th, 2026. Nick will remain in custody without bail. As he's let out of the courtroom, cameras capture his face. He doesn't look at them, doesn't acknowledge anyone. He's reportedly been placed on suicide watch. Later that day, Jake and Romy Reiner release a joint statement. Words cannot even begin to describe the unimaginable pain we are experiencing every moment of the day. The horrific and devastating loss of our parents, Rob and Michele Reiner, is something that no one should ever experience. They weren't just our parents. They were our best friends. They were the most loving, generous, creative people we've ever known. We ask for privacy during this impossibly difficult time. And we ask that our parents be remembered for the incredible lives they lived and the love they gave to everyone around them. Notably, they don't mention Nick by name. The statement ends with a request for donations to addiction recovery organizations in lieu of flowers. Even in their grief, they're thinking about the disease that destroyed their family. This is a story without heroes, without easy answers, without a Hollywood ending. Rob and Michele Reiner loved their son. For 17 years, they fought for him. They sent him to 17 different rehab facilities. They spent over $1 million trying to save him. They made a movie with him, hoping art could heal what medicine couldn't. They never gave up on him. But sometimes, love isn't enough. Sometimes, addiction and mental illness can lead to unimaginable tragedy. On December 13th, 2025, Nick Reiner went to a holiday party with his parents. Less than 24 hours later, Rob and Michele were dead, and Nick was in handcuffs, charged with their murders. As of today, Nick Reiner sits in a Los Angeles County jail cell, awaiting trial. He has pleaded not guilty. His defense team is preparing their case. Mental health evaluations are being conducted. Evidence is being analyzed. The trial will likely take months, possibly years. A jury will hear all the evidence. They'll see crime scene photos. They'll hear from experts. They'll learn about Nick's history of addiction and mental illness. and then they'll decide his fate. Is he guilty of first-degree murder? Did he plan this? Or was this a psychotic break brought on by years of drug abuse? Those questions will be answered in a courtroom, but they won't bring Rob and Michele back. They won't undo the trauma that Romy experienced walking into that bedroom. They won't give Jake his parents back. They won't erase 17 years of pain and desperation. Rob Reiner was 78 years old, one of the greatest filmmakers of our generation. A man who gave us stories about love, friendship, courage, and hope. Michele Singer Reiner was 70 years old, a talented photographer and producer, a devoted wife and mother. Both were murdered in their own home, in their own bed, allegedly by someone they loved more than life itself. Their son. The guest house in Brentwood sits empty now. The same guest house where Nick once destroyed everything in a drug-fueled rage. The same guest house where Rob and Michele let him stay, even after everything, because they refused to give up on him. That's what parents do. They love, they forgive, they hope, even when hope is dangerous, even when love isn't enough. This is the Brentwood tragedy, the case that shocked Hollywood, the murder that no one saw coming, the family that tried everything and lost everything. Nick Reiner stands accused. The evidence will be presented at trial. A jury will decide his fate. But regardless of the verdict, one thing is certain. This family will never be whole again. But before you go, there's another case you need to hear about. A woman disappears from a luxury resort in the Bahamas. Her husband says she fell overboard during a sunset cruise. But security footage tells a different story. 3 days later, divers find her body. She's still wearing her life jacket. The investigation uncovers affairs, secret bank accounts, and a $2 million life insurance policy taken out just weeks before the trip. Did she jump? Was she pushed? Or was this the perfect murder? That story next time. If you want to see how this case unfolds, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. Because what they find in her hotel room changes everything. Until then, stay safe out there.